Hey guys, so we have gone through solving one-step and two-step equations and inequalities. And today we are going to do solving with multi-step equations and multi-step inequalities. So we're going to get this kick-started by doing equations first. So we'll take a look at number 1. In order to start solving, we learned that you definitely pay attention to your variable. And we notice that in number 1, our m is inside the parentheses, which should be triggering in your mind that we need to distribute first. So I'm going to check mark distribute, and I'm actually going to go through and distribute my 6 through my parentheses. So 6 times m is 6m. And 6 times negative 7 is negative 42. And that equals 90. Just like we were working on in our two-step equations, we want to combine any like terms if we can, but note there are no like terms on the same side. So we won't be combining like terms in this case, but we can undo the operations in order. So if we undo our operations, we first have to start with our 6m and undo our operations from there. So go ahead and solve through like a two-step equation, since that's what we see. So if you go back to your solving process, guys, we have adding 42 on both sides. Notice to get m by itself, we have to not multiply by the 6, but undo that by dividing by 6. So we should end up with m equals 22. And now we can also do our check. And so if we do our quick check, guys, into our calculator, we end up getting 90, which is what we should equal. So that means that 22 is our solution for m. All right, let's try out number 2 as our equation. Notice how this one's a little bit different. And why I say it's a little bit different is we don't have any parentheses. So if I don't have any parentheses, then that means that I will not distribute, which means we can mark that off of our checklist. We are not going to distribute. There is no parenthesis. We also can't combine any like terms since nothing is alike on each side. We have some stuff that's different. So can't combine like terms, but we do notice that we can undo some operations. So if I have a 3D on the left side and I have a 5D on the other, we need to move one of those D terms to the other. So a quick way to do that, guys, is since 5D is positive, we're going to subtract 5D to get all of our D's on one side by the opposite operation. Our 5D minus 5D will go to 0. But our other pieces, 3D minus 5D would give us negative 2D minus 5 equals 13. So now we're back to our two-step equations. So we're going to box our negative 2D, and I want you guys to go ahead and solve for D, so to undo that operation of subtract 5. Okay, so we should have added by 5 to both sides. To get D completely by itself, we have to not multiply by negative 2, but divide by negative 2, and we should get D equals negative 9. And in fact, when we put negative 9 in our original equation, and we check our solution here, so notice the 3 times negative 9 minus 5 is the left side, and this is my right side, 5 times negative 9 plus 13. They are, in fact, equal, which means that we check out. So our final answer there for number 2 was D equals negative 9. Now let's get into the inequalities and how you solve those with multi-steps. So let's take a look at number 3. And we notice that there are no parentheses, which means that I'm not going to distribute. So let's cross that off our checklist. But we do see something that we can combine. So I want you guys to notice that we have a negative 6p and a positive 2p. And we can actually combine those together since they are sitting on the same side. They are technically together on the left side of my less than symbol. So when we say combine like terms, it means take their operations the way they sit and tell me what they would be if you combine them together. So notice how I took the negative 6 in front of the first p and I added it to the second p, or add 2. So we end up getting negative 6p plus 2p would end up being negative 4p's on our left side. And we're going to continue bringing down the rest of our information. Now this looks like an equation or inequality that we've worked with yesterday. So notice that we can solve for this inequality pretty quick. We just need to focus our attention on our variable and let's undo those operations. So again, guys, go ahead and try to get this going here. Feel free to pause and try to solve like we did yesterday. So as you guys were solving number 3, be careful. So we added 11 to undo the subtraction to both sides. To get p by itself, we had to divide by our negative 4 that was in front. But watch out, when you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, you end up flipping the sign. So no longer less than, we are now greater than. And 128 divided by negative 4 was negative 32. So now let's go ahead and talk about how we graph our number line. So since this is strictly greater than, we are going to be open and we're going to be pointing to the right. So we'll graph our negative 32 and make sure that we are an open dot because of our greater than, and we are pointing to the right. Last one. Okay, so taking a look at number 4, it does look a little bit scary, but in fact, it's not that bad. So let's use our checklist and make sure that we understand what's happening here. So first and foremost, I do see parentheses. So if I see parentheses, you are going to end up distributing. So we're going to distribute our 2 into our parenthesis. We're going to end up with 2k minus, so 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and everything else carries down. We should all notice that there are 2 little pieces here that we can combine like terms with, which in fact means that we can smush them together. So negative 6 can add to 4, and negative 6 plus 4 ends up giving us negative 2. And everything else comes down as well. Once we combine our like terms, notice we have 2 k's on opposite sides. So we need to make sure we undo their operations and put them on one side together. So the easiest way to do that is to move your 2k over to your 9k. So if 2k is positive, to move it, I'm going to subtract 2k from both sides of my equal sign. So once we subtract our 2k, we should get 7k plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 2. And now this is a 2-step equation. So we're going to solve for k, box our 7k, and undo your operations. So we're going to subtract 12 from both sides to help us solve. We are also going to get k by itself by not multiplying but dividing. And once we take negative 14 divided by 7, we get negative 2. Notice this is a less than pointing to the left, and it also has an equal. So this means that we will be closed and pointing to the left. So we'll graph our number line. On negative 2, you put your closed dot, and you point your arrow facing to the left. All right, guys, time to practice.